Hey guys, this is Cyphus from Defense of the Patients. I just want to say thanks for listening and telling your friends. You guys are the best advertising that we could ask for as a show. If you'd like to continue to support .p, consider the .p Patreon. The Patreon's been completely revamped and we've added new prizes and new milestone goals. Prizes include immortalization on the .p website, a chance to 1v1 mid Roland and prove you can take him on, and even a chance to be a .p show host for an episode doing and talking about whatever you'd like. You can even change up the co-hosts. Our first milestone goal is $500 a month. When we hit it, Roland, Wazoo, and I will do a 12-hour-long live-streamed episode with amazing giveaways and fan phone calls all day long on the .p hotline. You'll be talking right alongside with us on the show. Show your support at patreon.com/defense of the patients. Thanks for listening. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Defense of the Patients. This is a special Friday episode, and I'm going to do a little bit of explaining before we get into it. I was talking with Roland yesterday, and I was telling him, sometimes we have the guest on, and I just putting it quite frankly, I feel like three's a crowd sometimes with an interview, and I think it would be interesting to do some one-on-one interviewing. Just to have, rotating different show hosts out, whoever, wants to grab an interview or has an interesting perspective on the interviewee, maybe they should do a one-on-one interview with guests in the future and release those on Fridays. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to try it. I'm going to be the first interviewer, and Roland
will be the first interviewee.
That's right.
So I want to explain just a couple of things. Cyphus and I have known each other for somewhere around 8 years. He was my older brother's friend, Wazoo. And then we became really good friends for what we decided on about 5 years.
Yeah, probably.
So I said, okay, you want to do this idea? Interview me, because that's going to be a hard interview.
And I don't think it will be.
You've known me for 5 years. You know all the stupid shit that I've done. And if you want to bring it out, I'm fine with it, dude.
Well, the first question is, how personal do you want to get with this interview?
As personal as you want. Like, honestly, I'm just... Don't give, places or names, and we can get as personal as you want to get.
We can go regional, though, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you were born in northern Utah, right?
Born in northern Utah. I have lived within a mile radius of the place I was born my entire life. I am 24 years old, and literally haven't ventured a mile radius, literally, as far as living situation.
Was New York the furthest you had ever been from home?
No, because I've been in Eastern Canada.
Okay, why were you in Eastern Canada?
I went up. It's actually a funny story. This is a while ago. My parents got divorced, and my dad was always trying to come up with fun ways, I guess, to get his 14-year-old son that hates him to do stuff. And so he called me and he said, "Hey, do you and a friend want to go to Canada?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I want to go to Canada." And so I brought my friend with me and we went to Canada, but we were only in Canada for 2 days. And so when we went through customs in Montana, they're like, "Why in the hell are you coming to Canada for 2 days?" And they made us get out of the car, and we had to go into an office while they were searching the shit out of the car, because they thought for sure we were some type of drug runners, and it was just some guy that brought some kids along to get the drugs in.
Yeah, it would look legit.
They would look legit. We went and saw Banff National Park. I think it's technically in British Columbia, but it's right on the border of British Columbia and Alberta. We stayed in Edmonton, which is where they have the week-long parade going on. It's like a party parade in Edmonton, Alberta. It's apparently
all
a great
the time.
No, it's they're just known for this week-long, the whole fucking city shuts down.
Was it going on while you were there?
No, it wasn't. But I mean, I would love to go back. It was a really cool place. We stayed in Edmonton and then went straight to Banff National Park, and we stayed on a resort for one night in Banff National Park. It was the only water that I've ever seen that was green, but not green like dirty green.
Yeah.
It was see-through, and it was like, I don't know, like a gem, like a, I don't know, it's sapphire, is that green?
Yeah,
Emerald.
or emerald.
No, emerald. It was like emerald water, and
Sapphire's blue.
And everybody, like the tour guide was like, literally, like, this water you could drink, and it would be better than any water you've tasted. Of course, if everybody's doing that all the time, it probably wouldn't be so clean. Sure. But it was cool. Then we came back through, and we stayed in some shitty towns. And I read, that leads to another story, I read The Fountainhead on that drive, because it was an extremely long drive. Mm-hmm. And on the way there, I brought The Fountainhead with no expectations to really even read it. And I ended up just having a blanket over my head in the passenger seat, enthralled with the story of The Fountainhead. And it really, I don't know, made me love Ayn or Anne, whatever you want to say, Ayn Rand. And I know, like, now she's, like, considered, like, I know a lot of people have differing opinions on her. I only read The Fountainhead. I haven't read The Anthem or Atlas Shrugged, but it was a defining moment in my life reading that book. What
did you take away from it?
Just that, I don't know, the whole purpose is there's a guy who works really hard and loves his work, basically. And then there's a guy who is more charismatic and steals the work and is much more successful than the guy that's actually talented and making the work. And in the end, you know, the guy who is actually talented comes out ahead. That's basically the big takeaway there. But just the way it was written and the way the characters were described was something that I'd really never encountered in literature. I mean, because I honestly am not a big reader. That's one thing that I don't know if it's like ADD or whatever, but as far as getting information, I don't prefer to get it through, especially like fiction. Like, I'd rather get my fiction through a movie,
sure,
than through
on the screen. Yeah,
than digging through a book.
I think that's a generational thing.
Yeah, generational, and my parents like forced it. We had reading time every day, like a 2-hour reading time, which honestly made me hate to read more than like bolster my love for reading. Like, really, they were doing the opposite of what they should have been doing. I don't know. It worked for Andrew Wazoo. He still reads. I mean,
he's an English major.
He's an English major. That's what he does. I mean, his assignments are to read a book and talk about it and shit like that.
What was it like growing up with Wazoo?
He was a dick.
What was the age difference between the two of you?
So he's 3 grades above me, but he's like only barely 2 years older than me. So so it's like I missed the cutoff on mine, and he barely made the cutoff on his. So he's like 2 years older than me, but yeah, it was rough. He was not like the until my freshman year, he was not the older brother to like defend me or anything. Yeah. Matter of fact, like he was just a dick, pretty much, to me.
No, I can't.
No,
I can't see that at all.
There was one moment where I can't remember what the reason was, but he had those old Sony headphones that would plug into your Walkman. Do you remember them? They're really thin and have like a teeny bit of padding and whatever. And he was spinning them around, okay? And he slapped me in the face after like spinning them around, and it fucking like hit me in the face, and like I had like a bruised cheek. Didn't even know your cheek could bruise. And then another story. We just got like a little golf club set, and we were kids. Okay, I think I was in 2nd grade. He was in 5th grade, and I was hassling him about how he couldn't get the ball off the ground. Like, you can't get that golf ball off the ground, and he fucking did, and he broke my shoulder when I was in 2nd grade, and so I walked around with a Snoopy sling. And it was the only one that they had, so I was embarrassed. And
how old were you when that happened?
2nd grade.
2nd grade, okay.
So the swinging the head, like, yeah, he was a dick, man.
5th grade.
And we played the same video games, like Nexus, the Kingdom.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I
mean, you kind of. Oh yeah, you told me about that.
And he was a dick in that game too. It was like, yeah, I had a dumb name, and yeah, he was all like prestigious in the game and whatnot, and like people respected him. But it's like, help your brother out. You know what I mean? Like, he's sitting on millions of coins.
No nepotism with Wazoo.
Yeah,
none whatsoever.
Nope.
No, you gotta prove yourself.
It was rough living with him.
But you broke his back.
That happened much later. So basically, I've lived with Wazoo like my entire life, just because I moved out when I was 17 from my parents' house, And then he moved into that house that I moved into, like, shortly after I moved in. And then I moved in with Audrey. And then he's moved in and out of here 3 times now.
Yeah.
So, like, literally my entire life I've lived with Andrew, and pretty much always been a dick.
Anytime he loses a roommate,
yeah.
he's here.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know. We get along, though. Our relationship really started when, I don't know, I would say I was in 10th grade. And I started being that bandana-wearing musician that would wear the sports coats and bandanas, and I was super enlightened and wise.
When did you start playing music?
So, it's funny. The first episode we ever recorded Defense of the Patients on was the first computer I ever recorded any music on. And we got a new Mac right after that first episode. But my dad, once again, divorced, trying to win over my affection, doing this with items. Bought the brand new Mac, okay? I think it was '06. He bought like one of those badass flat screen Macs, and it came with GarageBand. And a friend, Jesse, who in my opinion, was like a musical god, this person, like, I aspired to be just like this person and say his weird slang, like groovy and stuff like that. And so I was really into the Postal Service at the time. And
yeah.
And I recorded with only vocals and a bunch of like vocal alterations, Such Great Heights. So I couldn't play anything. So I said, I know how to sing the song. So I just sang the song, and it was like 30 different tracks of me just singing the song differently. And it ended up sounding kind of like the song. And then I showed everybody I knew and was like, oh my God. And that's the day I became a musician. And then I bought a guitar somewhere around 15 or 16. I went and I bought a $100 acoustic guitar. And just sat in front of a computer and said, what's the C chord? What's the G chord? What's the A chord? What's B? And then just practice that and practice that and practice that. And then started making my own songs. And I remember my dad coming up to me after one concert, and I was like, what'd you think? You know? And he's like, your songs sound all the same. And I was like, you're a fucking dick. But I didn't say that. And I was like, yeah. He's like, wow, fuck you. Like, my songs sound all the same. Fucking you get up there and perform. Like, of course they do.
How long after you started playing guitar did you start performing?
Immediately, before I was playing guitar. Because I had Ben. There was this dude that I grew up with, but he was he was older and he was kind of weird, but he could play guitar barely. And so he started coming over, and he would just like play some chord progression, probably like G, D, A, G, D, A, like over and over, and I would make up lyrics and sing to it. And so so we would go to open mic nights, and he would play the guitar, and I would sing, and we would sit in stools. And thinking of those times is super embarrassing, but in my mind, I felt like I was like, on my way to fucking Hall of Fame. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And then when I realized that Ben wasn't very great at playing guitar, I kicked him off and started playing guitar, and then he played drums. And then I didn't really want to play drums anymore because he wasn't a very good drummer. And so, but I had to, because there's that like loyalty there. Like, I knew this. I had a bunch of friends who were really good drummers and were super interested in like going to the recording studio with me and playing drums. And I couldn't like, I couldn't be like, I have to be like, shit, man. Like, Ben has to do the drums. That's who has to do the drums. Just like your little brother, Dustin. I mean, he was in a band. They were in a band called FVC.
Yeah.
And they were super inspirational. There was a time where they were close. Had they made a few smart moves instead of a few dumb moves, they actually maybe could have got somewhere with their musical career. And now, of course, your brother moved away to Texas.
Yeah.
All the other members of the band are doing completely different things, and it didn't work out.
When did you decide to stop playing music?
It wasn't like I'm done with music. There was never that like defining moment of like, I am never going to play instruments again. It was just I started dating Audrey, and then a few friends would come over and like jam and whatnot, and then I got really interested in the recording process, and less so in the performing process. And I remember telling Ben this. This is what like, and he like almost cried. I was like, he's like, yeah, man, I can't. We just need a big. We need to book big shows. We need to book big shows. And I'm like, honestly, I'm not so interested in the performing side of things. I'm more interested in the production side of things. Like, I would much rather spend, a month making a song pristine in audio editing than getting in front of, even 100 people would have been amazing at that point, and performing some shitty song about some shitty metaphor about drugs. Or, like, come on, let's be real. Like, I talked about drugs and love and religion. Like, those were the 3 topics I ever explored when writing lyrics.
That sums up rock music, though.
Yeah, like, it was drugs, it was women, and it was religion. And sometimes politics, but that always looped back to religion in some way, just because there was that angst. And at this point, I'm listening to like Bright Eyes and Rilo Kiley, or Rilo Kiley, Rilo. Anyway, I don't know, that whole like indie group, Saddle Creek Records. And yeah, I truly believed in my mind that I was going to be a successful, famous, whatever musician. And then my priorities changed immediately when I started really delving into GarageBand. When I started like my solo, I guess you could say, projects where I would record 15 guitar tracks, and it was completely unnecessary. And I'd record 20 vocal tracks, and I'd record 15 tambourine tracks, and then try and put them in as beautiful of a way as I thought possible. Which, it didn't. But then we started, then I kept with the music a little bit. It just kind of faded away, and then science really kicked in. Like, that's, I guess music faded when school started to interest me more, because it was just like, I'm not a big fan of subjectiveness. You know what I mean?
Didn't you start going to school for music initially?
Yeah, that's my first year at school was getting, so 3 of those semesters, I took 3 courses in Pro Tools and got certified. I took classical guitar, I took piano 1, I took vocal 1 or whatever, I took music theory, and just was like, and by the end of that year I said, no fucking way am I going to be moving on with these people. Because you can always judge what your work is gonna look like by your peers.
Do you think with 1,000 level courses in college? I've wondered that myself, because I kind of agree with you to an extent, but I also ended up feeling like...
But these weren't 1,000 level though, because it went 1,000, 2,000, 4,000 for the audio engineering, and these people just went into this class with no musical, like, none of them could play anything, which was upsetting to me. But it was okay by the professor. Like, they're getting, I mean, I guess you don't have to be a musician to be a sound engineer. But I'm going to say that if you are musically trained, it's much better. For instance, like, if I were to record a song and I had never, played any musical instrument, like, how am I to know if they're out of tune? How am I, like, if you pick up a guitar right now and you try and tune a guitar without ever playing guitar, it's like, oh, dude, I'm doing what now? And I have to hear for what? It's just like something that you do 1,000 times, then you can hear it. I feel like, yes, I doubt that there are very many sound engineers that didn't have some sort of musical pursuit or at some point.
What do you think about, like, hip-hop DJs? Do you think they
Here's the difference with a hip-hop DJ is they know those tracks back to front and front to back. And that's where their skill comes in, is that they don't just throw on a track they haven't heard. Like, they've listened to that record. They know the ins and outs of that record. They may even know the time when whoever is saying what, and they want that. I think that, yeah, they're musically trained.
Well, I told you about we went to see Idea and Abilities like right before
Idea passed.
died. Yeah. And looking at DJ abilities, anybody out there who likes rap, likes hip hop, or like underground hip hop, check out Idea and Abilities. But he actually had like these like tiny little paint dots along the grooves of the vinyl records that he was spinning
to know where to go.
Like, yeah, just to know, and like
that's really
you
cool.
would just see him like moving that fucking needle around.
And yeah, that's
from dot, like connect the dots.
That is musical. I would consider that musical experience for sure. I'm just saying, like, these were people that mommy and daddy pay for school, and they went on to register for courses and said, this class looks easy, this class looks easy, and this class looks easy. And mom and dad will pay for my apartment and my car payment if I go to school and get good grades. I'm going to take easy classes and get good grades. And that were...
Do you think those were easy classes? Not the audio engineering?
So the 1,000 level audio engineering was, okay, open up GarageBand. Okay, it's open. All right, we're going to record you saying something for 30 seconds. It doesn't matter what you say. Say it for 30 seconds, and you record it. Okay, I want you to cut it 21 seconds in. Like, super, super fucking basic. 2000 is when we started getting into headroom. And headroom is the idea of... You all have like high, mids, and lows in sound, and for instance, it's really hard to record string instruments with a band and record it right, because string takes up a lot of your headroom being your highs. When you sing, it's generally in the high realm of sound, in the treble realm of sound. And learning how to record a string instrument along with vocals and making sure that it didn't sound distorted, because there's, and I learned this later on in physics, there's constructive waves and destructive waves. So if I have a wave that's moving at the same length, two waves moving at the same length, they will basically nullify each other. And if I have two waves that are opposite of each other, they will build each other up. And so basically, when you understand waveforms to the point where you can see them and be able to decipher whether it's going to be a constructive or destructive, I don't know, combination is what 2000 kind of covered. And then 4000 was, it weeded out all of those people, and then it was just musicians, and it was just musicians. And it was cool because I was able to collaborate with my classmates, and that class was actually really awesome.
Well, and that's kind of my point is, don't you feel like the people that you meet in the 1,000, you know, I mean, because I felt like I noticed that.
But those were still, like, in my opinion, like, I'm not big into the, like, hippie, there's no such thing as time, the sun never actually sets, man, because relativity, and just, like, stupid, like, I hate that. Like, and that's where, like, kind of science prevailed in my life, was I did buy into that hippie bullshit for a while there, where it was just a bunch of stupid fucking shit being said all the time that didn't mean anything, and yet everybody thought it was so profound.
Do you feel like, I mean, do you feel like you have a negative, I guess, a negative connotation with, like, would you say, like, a spiritual element with it, or is that what, like, drove you over to science? Like, what about science, like, made you appreciate that over that kind of a perspective?
That is exactly my issue, was the whole spirituality behind it, because it was fake. It's just, it never, like, I mean, trust me, I've had missionaries knock on my door many times. I live in Utah. And say what you will, I'm not going to say anything about organized religions. But when it comes down to somebody who is high on acid and saying that this and this and that about the moon and the water and how time is nothing but a constraint, and that's when it was just like, I'm sitting there as, like, a logical minded individual saying, oh my god, like, is this what it's going to be like?
So do you think
why do you care what you wear so much?
But is there, like, a big drug, I guess there's just a big drug culture then associated with,
fuck yeah, dude. You can't
how prevalent is it? Like, I mean, is that everybody prevalent. in that 4,000 level engineering course? Or
fuck yeah. Course? It was all about, you know, pot pot was huge. Acid and mushrooms were huge because those were we have gatekeepers in our mind, man. And the only way to get past those gatekeepers is to drop acid. And the only way to unlock certain regions of your brain is to smoke a bowl. And, like, and it's just, like, I fucking hated that mindset. Like, I wasn't in music so I could, like, get shit-faced and, like, I don't know, and get laid. Like, so many people were in there, and so many people, I mean, we have friends to this day that are still have this same pursuit. For sure. Where it's like, when you know it's not about
when you know a lot of musicians, you're right. I mean, I asked that question, I sort of,
and it's not even about like lyrical content. Like, I'll be honest, like, my lyrical content that I like, going back to drugs, religion, and sex or women or whatever, those were topics that I knew would resonate with my audience, and that's why I wrote about those things, which was so dumb and cliche looking back on it now that
do you think it was just, do you feel like you were being disingenuous about yourself within the scene?
No, I don't feel like I was disingenuous at all. I felt like I was
but I mean, if you're writing,
I felt like I was
to your audience.
I felt like I was drugged, like, you know what I mean, like, not actually on drugs, but like I was drugged by the whole allure of like being in the group, in the music group, because here in northern Utah we do have, I would say, there's a lot of bands constantly going in and out, and some get big and most of them don't, and you kind of want to be in the good old boys club with the musicians. And I mean, your brother's band, was being friends with them and knowing them was me kind of being in the good old boys club, and then with a few other bands. And I don't know, like, that was why I did it. I didn't do it. Yeah, I mean, I was disingenuous to become successful. I realized that I had to put on a facade in the way...
Well, and that's kind of what I mean, is like...
Yes, I guess, to answer your question, yes, it was completely disemgenuous. Although,
do you feel
for a while I believed it.
Do you feel like some of them are genuine in that... or how to phrase this, like, don't you feel like some of them are genuine themselves about that,
Yeah, which is why I wanted to get the fuck out of there, because they're actually genuine about it. Because I thought it was like we could have like a talk and be like, we're totally fooling all these people, right? Like, this facade thing, like, totally lame, right? Like, we're getting the sheeples, aren't we? And no, they're like, no, man, like, it's all about love, and like is what that made me do.
I mean, don't you think that there's something to be admired in that aspect, that there are, because when you compare it to what you're doing now a little bit, I mean, you're podcasting to reach an audience and talk to people about something that you genuinely care about. But
for the first time, like, you guys are seeing me, you know what I mean? I'm not going up there and like throwing out shitty metaphors about drugs, women, and religion. Like, I'm talking with my friend through a microphone about what's going on. And no, I feel like it's a completely different pursuit. I don't put a mask on for defense of the patients, like, I don't.
Right, but I mean, so what I'm saying is, those people that existed within that scene, don't you think that they similarly did not have a mask on?
No. They all had masks on. Down to the fucking what they wore. But
wouldn't cop to it? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Is that,
exactly?
Is that
yeah. You cop to it, you're out of the good old boys club. You're not in the club anymore. Yeah, maybe some people genuinely believed it, but guess what? When you come off that acid, you don't feel very good. And you think, wow, I just like took lithosurgic whatever the fuck, and it heavily altered my mind. And whatever I said last night, I really don't even remember it anyway, but I'm sure it was profound. Let's write a song. And it's so much different. Like, it just relied on, I don't know. It relied on, reputation was way too much of a, I mean, reputation is always a thing. I don't know. It was more about, I never made the declaration to stop, I guess. I just made the declaration that I didn't want to perform, because those were just big, like, they were also jerk-off sessions where everybody was like, oh my god, your songs are so enlightening. And it's like, I only had one friend at the time that would tell me straight. that like I'd show him the song and he'd be like, that's shit. And that was the best criticism I ever got. Because going and performing in front of a bunch of people who are on drugs, it's pretty easy to entertain a bunch of people who are on drugs.
Sure.
And they'd come up and be like, oh my God, that was the best song I've ever heard. When are you going to, how much is your album? Blah, I want to buy it. Like, you're going places, kid. And like, and they were just, everything was fake about it. Everything. Down to like, those people.
Well, I mean, was it a lot of the same? You're saying there were a lot of the same people at like all of the.
Not even the same personality types, different people. And sometimes same people. It was just the same. Just the same old bullshit. You'd play a show, then you go to somebody's house and you get shit-faced drunk, and everybody would suck your dick for lack of a better term, about how great you are. And some people really get off on that. Some people really like that ego boost. Some people feel like they need that ego boost. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I don't know. There's a few people that you and I can both think of, I'm sure, that they really love the fact that, you know, getting those empty compliments.
Do you think that has more to do with, do you think you might have had a different experience musically if you were doing that in, say, like LA or New York or Seattle?
No, because that's just another whole fake realm. I mean, my brother-in-law is doing that in LA right now, trying to get famous in a band. He is the best drummer I've ever seen. He can, like, there's like, you can write drums, right? Like, just like you can write like music, you can, and it's just like a different, I don't know, I never learned how, but he can sit there and he can just write out a drum line and hear it in his head, and it's like, it's amazing. And he can sing and drum at the same time, which, mind you, that is one of the hardest things. Like, I had to learn how to sing and play guitar, which meant that more of my power was distributed to singing and less to guitar. So it'd be like, you know, just the same strums on the guitar while I try and do melodic differences in my voice. Being able to carry a very complex beat is much different. But back to your point on, would it be different in LA? Maybe I would have swallowed the pill in LA, you know? I mean, if I would have gotten some sort of record deal, sure, I'd fucking wear whatever they told me to. I'd do my hair how they told me to. You know, I'd do all of that. I'm fine. I was fine with doing that.
I mean, do you feel like most of the bands that you listen to now do that?
Mm-hmm. Abso-fucking-lutely. I would say that, I mean, even down to, you know, my favorite hip-hop, which would be Slug or Atmosphere. Yeah, dude, it's about making money. Like, you know, at the end of the day, you have to look and dress and be and present yourself in such a way in order to amass a fan base. You have to. You have to, you know, like, he's repping, like, he has an album, like, a song Southsiders, and, like, talking about, like, being south side of Michigan and shit. Like, did he want to write that song? I don't know. But, you know, it sure does resonate with a lot of people. You know, even the word just south.
But don't you,
side.
Don't you think that maybe it resonates with people because he wanted to write that song, because it's a
maybe,
you know.
And those are the true great ones. I mean, everybody that's ever seen my stream, it's Beatles, right? I love to listen to the Beatles and talk about the probably one of the biggest marketing stunts we have ever seen in the 20th century, for sure, would be the Beatles. As far as, I mean, down to their messages, a lot of their songs that they wrote.
Well, I remember that famous story of John looking at Paul and saying, "Let's write a swimming pool." Mm-hmm. You know.
No. Yeah, let's write a swimming pool. Like, yeah. I want to buy a new swimming pool. Yeah. Let's write a swimming pool. And like some of the songs that I love most from the Beatles aren't even what you thought they meant. Like the song, "Oh, darling, please don't leave me. I'll never do you no harm." That song, that is Paul McCartney writing to John Lennon. That is a song that Paul McCartney wrote to John Lennon because John Lennon threatened to leave the band, and he said, like, believe me when I say I can't do it alone. Basically, like, I need you. And like learning about that type of shit where they're still hitting the love and like the whatever, but it has a completely different meaning behind it, where where Paul McCartney was like, no, I'm writing this to John Lennon. And it's not like it's a love song, like it's a bromance song basically. It's like I can't do this alone, dude. Like, I need you. Like, we need to be together. Like, that's what makes us great. I find that there's some...
That bothers you?
No, that makes me very happy. Like, I like that they followed all that marketing bullshit and you know, whatever they had to do to fulfill the labels thing. I know that George Harrison wouldn't even go to the meetings. He just was so disgusted by it all. He just wouldn't even go to their meetings to talk about like where they need to go, what they need to write about. I find it really cool that they were smart enough to say, hey, we have to write a love song, but you know, I'm gonna write this love song, and it's gonna seem like I'm talking to some girl about, baby, please don't leave me, you know, oh darling, please don't leave me. But really, it's about John Lennon, and dude, I need you to stay in this band because we can do great things. And you know, it was a marketing masterpiece. They made great music. But yeah, they definitely, you know, took the pill, which was, you saw the Beatles, I mean, just in the way that they looked. Look at their appearance.
You feel like they made us, I mean, you feel like at the end of the day, that song probably would have been better had Paul McCartney just been able to write it directly to John Lennon, as opposed to disguising it as a love song.
No, I feel like it's an excellent song. It's one of my favorite songs made by the Beatles. I just brought that point up to show that they were good enough to write a song and say, I know the public will love this.
Well, I mean, but also susceptible,
personal meaning.
Susceptible to the influence that you're talking about, where basically it sounds like what maybe you dislike about the music industry is that most of it appears to be.
It's about the man, and that's what I hate about the music industry, or what I hated about the music industry. But now that I'm growing older and, you know, starting my own business with you and a bunch of other people, of course, I'm starting to realize that, you have to make money. You know what I mean? You can't do like what every musician says, which is like, if I could just have a box to live in and a guitar, I would do this for the rest of my life. Bullshit. Fucking bullshit is what I call. No, you wouldn't. If Geffen or whatever, the big music studio, was like, we like what you got, kid. How does a $10 million contract sound for 2 albums? You think that kid that's living in the box and all that?
But you have to change this.
Yeah, but you have to, you know, not look like a raggedy hobo anymore. Okay? Like, and then you can look at the side of things like Disney stars or Justin Bieber.
Don't you think there's enough independence out there with,
I feel like there's very little independence out there. Even when we talk about like Portugal the Man, for instance, even when everybody was enthralled with Portugal the Man, that look, they knew what they were doing. Maybe they didn't have people telling them what they were doing, but they got successful based on look, sound, and content.
See, and
look, sound, and content.
Right. I mean, I guess I struggle to see what your issue is there, though.
Because it's intentional while they're trying to say it isn't. While they're trying to say this is just like some organic, beautiful piece. It's not. It's complete, like that's what I love about podcasting, is I can tell you guys that like everything is planned out. Not necessarily. Like our shows, we kind of freeform and it is organic. But like we're doing, you know, we have talking points. We know what we're going to say, especially with guests. And I'm honest about that. Whereas if I were to ask Portugal the Man, like, come on, dude, you're wearing like a bear fur coat and it's like 95 degrees in here. Like, don't you want to take that off? And it's like, yeah, I really do. But if I take it off, I don't look nearly as cool playing this bass. Like, that's just, you know, they're doing it to attract an audience. And
that bothers you?
I guess. I mean, I guess that's, now I'm getting older and I understand why they're doing it. I don't think, it doesn't bother me. It just makes me not want to do it. I guess.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me because I see that they want to grow a fan base, and then they came out with their new album where it was all like ecstasy based. I don't know if you saw that music video where like everything's like brightly colored with Portugal the Man.
I haven't listened to them in a long time.
Yeah, I haven't listened to them since Censored Colors, but I saw a music video, and anyway, they're going where the people are, and it's smart. Honestly, business, like tactics in business, that is a smart thing to do. You want to be a successful band? I'm sorry, I promise you could have the best music in the world, and that's not enough. I don't care if you have come out with the most beautiful masterpiece, Beethoven would bow before you. That's not enough.
Do you feel like the
and
public
that's kind of
is...
what got me good, was like, fuck that, man. Like, if I write a good song, that should be good enough.
Do you feel like the public is misled to believe that, like...
Absolutely, dude. Just like with television, just like with anything. We're just like with a Burger King ad. I mean, we got on the topic of Burger King recently. We're misled every single day with something. You know what I mean? Yeah. 5 for $4. Oh my god, I can get 5 items for $4. Like, everything is misleading to a certain degree. And I guess when I found out that making a good song wasn't good enough, my interest just completely waned. Because it was like, I just liked the feeling of making a good song. And like I told you earlier in this interview, I guess, was, you know, spending a month on a song, making it beautiful and pristine, I felt was good enough. Like, that should be good enough. Like, if it's really a good song and people really genuinely like the song, then that should lead to popularity. Do you feel like you
have to make sacrifices with podcasting?
Less so. Much less so. My sacrifices are like wife time, which is the biggest sacrifice that I make, that I get a lot of shit for. But now she's getting more involved, which is making me really happy. I don't have to make sacrifices to my identity or to how I self-identify. I don't have to make sacrifices to what I wear. I don't have to make sacrifices to what I say. I feel like we put the explicit on this, so I can say whatever the fuck I want. And that's great. Like, basically, you guys, I don't withhold any information about myself. And that's nice. You know what I mean? It's nice to be honest.
Well, except, you know, specific cities and last name.
Sure, no, but that's for you know, the sake of feeling, you know, a little bit to guard some sort of anonymity. You know what I mean? To leave a little bit of anonymity on the table. Because
do you ever feel like we're hypocritical in that sense?
We're hypocritical for being anonymous. Mm-hmm. No, because when the time comes that people need to know my last name and where I live and the intimate details and need to see my birth certificate, then I will show it. But that time hasn't come. And for better, I mean, more people know me as Roland than Josh. And, you know, in a way, I feel like that's pretty cool. Where it's like, I mean, Roland is Josh. But
is Josh Roland?
And Josh is Roland. I don't... Like, that's the great thing is, you know, I get on my tirades and those are Josh tirades. You know what I mean? Those are those are not Roland tirades. And then when I get off, I'm like, those fools. I just went on a tirade and I didn't even believe what I was saying. Like, no, I don't have to do that. I don't have to be fake in this. Like, you know, you don't walk into the studio and like, really, you're going to wear that? You're going to wear that? Like, no, we don't have to do that.
Yeah.
We don't have to dress a certain way. I mean, the cool thing about podcasting is that I'm just talking, and if people find that interesting, great. If they don't, sorry, you know, don't listen to it then.
Yeah.
And that's what we're up against is if you don't like the banter that you get from just a friend talking to another friend, like me and Denny do, or me and Eric do, or me, Denny and Eric do, or me and Wazoo do, then you don't get it. So that's, I mean, I feel like I found the medium that I would like to work in most. I find it ironic that like my dream was to be a musician like my entire life. And now I'm starting to see it kind of go in a semi-different direction. But still similar, where the most fun I've ever had making music was for this podcast. To be honest with you, you guys hated them, but I loved them, the songs that we made. That was more fun than trying to put on some stupid facade about, you know, drugs, sex, and I was about to say rock and roll, drugs, sex, and religion,
politics.
Yeah, politics sometimes.
So before we wrap this up, I want to go right back to that last question though. Do you feel like you have to make some level of sacrifice with content, like specifically like with podcasting?
Do I need to what?
So I mean, we were talking about like having to make sacrifices with content, or maybe like lacking like a genuine interest in what you're doing or what you're creating. Do you feel like in order to like enhance popularity, you ever have to edit the content with the podcast? Like, for instance, the music. If people didn't, I mean...
No, I never have, and I never will. If you guys don't like it, fuck off. That's what I have to say. Hold on, I have to let my wife in here. She said she's cold. Come on, hurry. We're recording.
We're wrapping up a recording.
Like, that's stupid. I mean...
recording. I even put a note on the door.
Yeah, I ignored it.
Okay, I know. And you were knocking. Okay.
I mean, I knocked one.
Let's finish this one out.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up.
So, yeah, so no. If we've had some dumb ideas and we've shot them down.
Yeah.
But that's before any of our audience has shot them down. And that's a much different thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say about that. If we put something out and Denny and I both agree that it was funny, I don't care if you don't think it's funny. I honestly don't. Because I had fun doing it, and you listened to it anyway. So the joke's on you. is what I'd have to say. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
And that's the great thing, is that I can say things like
Thank
that.
God everybody's Roland's biggest fan.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, man.
Meme of the year for .p.
You're Roland's biggest fan?
That's right. All right. Well,
Are you Roland's biggest fan?
I have... Absolutely. I have to be to do this interview. I have to be. All right. I'm going to wrap this up. You guys, thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoy your upcoming weekend. We'll be back on Monday with regularly scheduled .p programming. You can find us on defenseofthepatients.com, at .p_show on Twitter. defenseofthepatients@gmail.com is our email, and feel free to search for us on iTunes, Stitcher, all your favorite podcast apps just by searching Defense of the Patients. Hit that subscribe button, hit that review button. Let us know how you feel like we're doing. So until next time, this is Cyphus for Roland, and a brief stint with Evanwood saying good luck and Godspeed.